equipped to handle anything. For a change of pace.
Hello everyone, I just wanted to make an update to my Vex build for Borderlands 4. I'm just going to be talking about the Vex build mechanics for this new build, the gear, specializations, and skill. The build mechanics, we're going to be using Eldritch Blast with Witchy Trigger Finger. This allows us to sustain infinite ammo and able to reload without using the reload animation, and it doesn't put our ordnance on cooldown. In addition, it also gives us 15% gun damage per stack, stacking up to 3. But with a certain passive, we can get an additional +3, so a total of 6. So, build mechanics. Inside the Vex tree, there's going to be 2 capstones. But we are going to be using Vibe Check, which is in the middle of the green skill tree. So the reason I picked this one is because it has a faster animation and you can do more Eldritch Blasts, which gives you faster free reloads. And in addition, it doesn't cost health, which health is important because when our health is full, we gain Bloodless Power, which gives us more damage. Heart Piercer, on the other hand, has a slower animation cast time, and it has a risk of having our ordnance to be on cooldown and a risk to have our weapons on reload animation. And it also costs health, and when it costs health, you don't have Bloodless Power active, so you need to regain your health. So you could have like a 1 to 2 second downtime until you get your health back, and we don't want that. So that's why we go with Vibe Check for constant damage and faster animation. So how this build works is we scale crit chance, and the more crit chance we have, the more we can proc Mortal Terror. And what Mortal Terror does, it gives us our kill skills. And with our kill skills, we're able to scale our damage. So we put 5 out of 5 on target prescience, which gives us 15% crit chance. And with our class 1, we have another 10% crit chance. So 15 plus 10, we have 25% non-crit chance. And gun crit chance applies to our weapon wheel right here. And with our specialization, fragmentation payload gives us an additional 5% crit chance. So if we add up all these together, we have a total of 30% crit chance for our ordnance. Gun damage and gun crit chance applies to ordnance as well. Keen Mind, 5 out of 5, gives us 15% skill crit chance. Bleed is considered a skill, so we have 15% chance for bleed to crit. Anything that crits has a chance to proc Mortal Terror, so the more crit chance we have, more Mortal Terror procs. So when Mortal Terror procs, what does that give us? It gives us a chance to trigger kill skills. We have Grave Sights, Grave Implements, Grave Thirst, Grave Sustenance, and Guns and Needles. All these are kill skills. They normally stack up to 3, but with Grave's Power, we have an additional +3, so it's a total of 6. With max stats, Grave Sights gives us 90% crit damage. We have 120% gun damage. Our Grave Thirst goes up to 45% lifesteal. And Grave Sustenance and Guns and Needles do not have any stacks, so we don't worry about that. So for this build, how do we get Grave Thirst if we are going primarily in the green tree? We get Grave Thirst from our class mod. So if you look right here on the class mod, in the middle, it looks like a vampire icon. You want to get this 5 out of 5 because this gives us lifesteal. And lifesteal is important for the next topic I'll be talking about shortly, for scaling blood power. Also do note here with gun damage, we can also scale that further with ordnance. So full spectrum arsenal, ordnance damage now benefits from 50% increases to gun damage. So 120% gun damage, but for our ordnances, we're actually getting 180% ordnance damage. So bonus damage. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Blood is power. Vex gains bonus kinetic damage of guns based on her current lifesteal when health is full. So that is why we are trying to scale as much lifesteal as possible. So we have Essence Leech 5 out of 5. This is a prerequisite to get Blood is Power. So we have 10% baseline, and we have double when our skill is active. So when we are in our incarnate state, we have a total of 20% lifesteal. So this is giving us 60% bonus kinetic damage. In addition, if we can get 5 out of 5 on our class mod with the Vampire Bite right here, Grave Thirst, this gives us our lifesteal to 45%, which gives us 135% bonus kinetic damage. There's also another build variation I have. I'll explain later on. We can get 10% lifesteal from here, and this gives us another 30% bonus kinetic damage. Another person discovered that bonus kinetic damage or any bonus damage gives us a lot more than just additive damage. So that is why getting as much bonus damage as possible really amplifies our damage for this build. Do note that these do not work for getting bonus kinetic damage. For whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's intentional or if it's a bug, but Repkits for Leech do not give you bonus damage, and the class mod itself with the lifesteal does not give you bonus damage. They do heal you, but they do not work with Blood is Power for some reason. If it does get fixed, you would actually get 90% bonus kinetic damage for using this Repkit, and the class mod itself will give you another 30% bonus kinetic damage. I'm not sure if it's going to get fixed or if it's intentional, but I'll let you guys know if any changes happen. So how this build works, you need gear must-haves. So you need to have this class mod, and you need to have a shield with amp. Ideally, I prefer Watts for Dinner because it gives you the most consistent damage throughout. There is a shield that gives you plus 40% shock damage, but that actually drains your shield, and it's very counterintuitive of what this build does. I just prefer Watts for Dinner because it's just more consistent. So how this build works is our lifesteal partially applies to shields. When Vex has maximum shield, her lifesteal partially grants overshield. So applying to shields, that gives us our amp uptime. Do note that amp only works when shields are full. It doesn't consume overshield. So you need to picture that you have an overshield and then you have an undershield. Amp uses your undershield. So you want to make sure your undershield is full, and whenever that happens, you're able to gain the benefit for this. For the overshield eater passive, it only eats your overshield. So just to keep that in mind. So why is this important? Because amp gives us gun damage, and gun damage scales or gives us more ordnance damage with this passive. So full spectrum arsenal gives us an additional 50% increase. So that gives us our ordnance damage is 225%. And the more damage we have, the more lifesteal returns. And we have a perpetuating cycle right here. Essentially, we're going to have amp on every single shot that we make. So what is our total gun damage? So I calculated all the gun damage I have on the build, and gives us a total of 473.28% gun damage. If we include the full spectrum arsenal, that gives us 709.92% ordnance damage. This is not including crits or crit bonuses, and I'm not sure if other bonuses like just flat raw damage are included. Essentially, get as much gun damage as possible, get as much lifesteal as possible, and you're able to scale your damage that way. So what is the best enhancements for this build? I picked my top 3. So if you're going ordnance and using a Torg bot, I recommend getting an enhancement that has gun damage, fire rate, and splash damage. Splash damage benefits your Torg explosions and your ordnance damage. If you do not have a Torg bot or you don't plan on utilizing ordnance as much, I suggest using one that has gun damage, fire rate, or shotgun fire rate. These both will apply to your bot because it counts as every weapon. And if you just prefer to have higher numbers, you can get one that has shotgun damage, sniper rifle, and gun damage. So essentially, gun damage is a must-have on any enhancement because it is a multiplier. For Repkits, I have 2, depending on which one you want to use. If you want to use triple bypass, pair it with now of caffeine on your specialization. If you're not using now of caffeine, then you need to spend 1 point on your skill tree with guns and needles and use a rep kit that has enrage and accelerator. The reason to pick enrage is because it scales to all damage, including your bleeds, versus leech. We know that it doesn't work, and the other modifiers don't really seem to do that much more damage. For ordnances, I suggest using either of these 2 rockets. And if you're planning on using the knife, you can always use the knife if you want. If you're playing in a team, only one person in your team needs to throw the knife, and it works for everyone. Otherwise, you can just use whatever you want. But if you're planning on using ordnances, I highly recommend using either the mirv or just the rocket socket. For guns, the primary weapons, you want either a Torg bot or you want a regular bot with COV. And you ideally want one with sniper rifle as a secondary rifle ammo, because the sniper, for some reason, just does more damage. For Torg explosions, do note that if the enemy is too close to you, you might explode. So just bear that in mind. And also make sure that your magazine size is also going to be smaller. So just keep that in mind as well. Versus the COV version, your magazine size is actually larger. I think it stops at 13 or 14. So that is the differences between. There's just one more weapon I want to feature. It is the Anarchy. This weapon stacks up damage whenever you kill, on kill, or auto reload. Our kill skills do proc and can increase the damage, and it stacks up to 20 times. You can also just prep this before the boss. Just keep shooting your weapon, and you will get it stacked up to 20 times for a total of plus 300%. And on the video that I did, was for radiation, and radiation is weak against armor. So if you have the right element when you're fighting a certain monster, you'll kill the boss even faster. 2 points here, and then eventually get to the ordnance version. If you don't want to use ordnance, I recommend this setup. And for the skill tree, you can use this option. I recommend this option for any of the build variations. If you're not using triple bypass, then put 1 point in here. If you are, then you can take 1 point out and place it wherever you want. Just do note that you want to get 5 out of 5 on this skill right here. And the more each you have, the more damage you'll do. If you don't want to use bleed, you can put 5 points up here, and you can just shift these points from the right side of the tree to the left, and it should be just as good. And the same thing here, you want 5 out of 5 on the class mod. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Bye.